only
It is also
back.
ironic because like Trump's tariff scheme is basically like him behaving like a little king against all these other sovereign states, quote unquote sovereign states, that are not so sovereign and instead are vassal states. And the whole tariffs regime that he has set up is basically like a king going to its vassals and demanding more in the form of taxes, in the form of grain, in the form of whatever fucking their output is. Like that's literally what he's doing while while in the process of celebrating America's war against a monarchy that did the same to the United States of America.
We're going to start sending letters.
Oops. Trump says he's about to raise tariffs as high as 70%.
Various countries starting tomorrow. We'll probably have 10 or 12 go out tomorrow. And over the next few days, I think by the 9th, they'll be fully covered. And they'll range in value from maybe 60 or 70% tariffs to 10 and 20% tariffs. But they're going to be starting to go out sometime tomorrow. We've done the final form, and it's basically...
A chatter said we need to privatize the fire department. They're already working on that. That already happened in California. There are already private fire brigades. And slowly but surely, they will also... I mean, the fire department, unironically, is underfunded as a direct consequence of reallocating all those funds to the police department. And eventually that will also happen. That is already happening, and it'll happen more frequently, which is ironic because that's how it started. There used to be private fire brigades. There was no such thing as a public fire department, and they were forced into becoming public fire departments because obviously, as depicted by Gangs of New York, the private fire brigades would not put out a fire if a house had not collected fire insurance, if they hadn't collected fire insurance from a house. But of course, fire is uncontrollable. It's unstoppable. So it would only end up causing fires on entire fucking city blocks, and it would end up spreading unnecessarily. Yeah, if you want to, Noam Chomsky always said, if you want to privatize something, you first defund it. Create the problem you want to solve. Of course.
Basically going to explain what the countries are going to be paying in tariffs. And it's very important. It's a lot of money for the country, but we're giving them a bargain. Because if I went by the true deficits or by other ways of measuring, it could be a lot more. We don't want to, I don't want to stretch it too much. We want to keep it pretty reasonable.
US President Donald Trump says he plans to spend part of his 4th of July holiday sending letters to countries notifying them of their new tariff rates with the United States. He says, in most cases, starting August the 1st.
Dude, this is so... Dude, he is exactly like my haters that fucking sit around and spend their 4th of July in my chat being like, when are you going to get banned? Why don't you get banned? Like... It's just pure operating on 100% animosity and 100% resentment. Fantastic. Just the only thing that motivates guys like this is literally just resentment, pure spite. It's so strange. Just fucking have some fun for one day, man. Nope.
The countries will begin paying anywhere from 10 to 70% tariff rates. Now, it's unclear which countries would get the first letters. Only that.
It is also ironic because like Trump's tariff scheme is basically like him behaving like a little king against all these other sovereign states, quote unquote sovereign states, that are not so sovereign and instead are vassal states. And the whole tariffs regime that he has set up is basically like a king going to its vassals and demanding more in the form of taxes, in the form of grain, in the form of whatever fucking their output is. Like that's literally what he's doing while in the process of celebrating America's America's war against a monarchy that did the same to the United States of America. Like, demanding feudal homage on the fucking the weekend that is dedicated to the holiday that is dedicated to America's emancipation from that exact same design. HasanAbi, why do people hate you? I don't even get it. You care about people. That's what, that upsets them as a disabled person watching gives me hope when I should not have any. I'm glad to offer a little bit of hope to you, chatter. But yeah, that's what it is for the most part. Resentment, anger, people being like, why don't you also behave like I do? Zen fascism, as Matt Christman called it, which is, we're all in this together. You're just as hypocritical as we are. Why the fuck do you keep chirping about how violent this system is when you are also a recipient of the violence of this? When you are also a recipient, a benefactor of all of this violent machine. As a matter of fact, you're not only a recipient and a benefactor, but you're also an endlessly fortunate recipient. You should fucking shut up about how awful this thing is and stop trying to make me care. You should be talking about how good everything is, as a matter of fact, because it's been good to you. That's usually what it is. And then there's also a lot of people who just don't pay attention to anything, understandably, and they just like kind of see stuff online. They see stuff online and they basically go, you know what, fuck this guy. Because some of these people do present me in a very bad light, you know? I get it. I would fucking, if I didn't know who I was, like, look at this guy saying, bring out the gun again. It's right here, chatter. It's literally right there. Do you not see it? It's on screen. It's not gone anywhere. But that's what I mean. Like, if I had no idea who the fuck I was, if I, in the way that I'm presented in some of these circles, if another person was presented in the way that I'm being presented in some of these circles, and I had no idea who the fuck this person was, and I didn't have time to investigate for myself and make up my own conclusions, I fucking hate myself too. Yeah. This guy's a dangerous terrorist, fucking America hater who wants every American to die. You know, he's a dangerous, unstable individual is the way that they fucking present it. When I first started watching, I thought you were like a devil, lol. It was months before I realized I agree with you on almost everything. Yep. For real, I didn't like you until I actually listened to you. When I did, I was like, wait, I agree with him. Yeah, that is the biggest thing that a lot of my haters do, which is why I don't like complain too much, is that they get at least some people to come here and be like, let me investigate on my own. And then when you do, you realize... they're like, oh, these guys were just fucking lying. That's it. I wish it didn't have to be that way. I wish that people would just kind of leave me alone and then people found out about my positions on their own. Mom's neighbor told her, you're a terrorist. And mind you, this is in Peru, so the narrative reaches over there as well. That's so funny. Totally had the impression you were an alpha male Republican dude before I actually came here recently. That's funny. I don't like you or agree with you. 2-month subscriber. Well, give it enough time. Give it enough time and your opinions will change. I was an Islamophobe before I started watching you and almost became an October 7th leaver, but your moral consistency on all other issues made me hear you out.
She would send out up to a dozen letters a day. Well, for more on all of this, CNN's Anna Stewart joining me from London. And it does sound like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had more specifics about the tariff rate a majority of countries might be looking at. What did he say?
I've had a few mixed messages about what the tariffs will be, and what seems clear is that perhaps the tariffs we had on so-called Liberation Day all the way back in April, those tariffs that were paused, perhaps they are dead in the water, because we could be seeing new tariffs up to 70% according to President Trump. But as you say, according to the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, for the majority of countries, and I'm thinking these are the countries that don't have a big trade surplus with the US, it could be a lot less. Take a listen.
I think that we're going to see about 100 countries who just get the minimum 10% reciprocal tariff, and we'll go from there. So, I think we're going to see a lot of action over the coming days.
We hope we do see a lot of action. We've seen a little bit of action in the last week. A trade deal in principle, at least with Vietnam, bringing their tariff down from 46%. That's where it was at Liberation Day levels. It's now down to 20%.
He just loves molesting the money. You just got to let him do it a little bit, you know? This is him. This is him being like, come on, I'm still here. And this is my favorite thing to do. I'm going to do it. Come on, as a treat. It's 4th of July. Let me have this. That's what he's like. Come on, let me grab it a little bit. Let me hold a band. Let me hold a band or two. Come on now.
20%. It's more if an item comes from China and is exported through Vietnam to the US. China is not happy about that, I have to say. And of course, the deal with the UK. But that is it at this stage. There is a trade truce with China, but in terms of trade deals, that's it. The EU Trade Commissioner was in DC yesterday for talks with his counterparts. Nothing has been announced, but the Treasury Secretary did suggest that things were looking quite positive. And as he says, we're going to get a load of more trade deals coming up. Watch this space.
This, of course, was a Trump-imposed deadline, right? Let's just be quite clear about that for sort of mid-late next week.
This is a Trump-imposed deadline, and I think what's been very interesting is seeing how little market reaction we have. Given the comments we're getting, given how soon that deadline is. If you look at US futures, because US markets are closed today, US futures dipped a little bit on some of this news, but not much. European equities are in the red, but really not significantly at all. So the big question is, are investors saying this is just the art of the deal? Is this threat real? Are deadlines really deadlines? They've always been quite fluid. Is this another taco trade? You know, Trump always chickens out. And that all plays into it. So I don't expect we're going to see much reaction at all, probably until next week when it really comes down to the wire. And even then, even if markets get yippy, will it be sort of short term?
Wait, don't ban that guy. Come on. He's let this brave chatter keep their take in there. People shit on him because he's very wrong about some stuff. Even invited a terrorist onto his stream one time, which got a massive backlash. Literally did not happen. None of those things happened. Guy I interviewed, not a Houthi. I still retain the right to interview a Houthi if I want to, for the record. Secondly, there was no fucking real backlash. It's just all manufactured outrage. Let these guys chirp. It's fine. These guys can chirp into the fucking wind. Yeah, it was so much backlash that I got fucking CNN, New York Times, and virtually every other media outlet covering what I've been doing here since then. Big part of the problem is even ICE, when they detained me, recognized that the person wasn't a fucking Houthi, which would have been ridiculous even if he was, and then they like actually arrested me for that reason. So it's just weird when people it's weird when people still operate on this this like weird notion.
Or longer term, we'll just have to wait and see. But we're not getting much of substance at this stage.
On the tariff deadline, Mark, the global economic outlooks that I'm reading at least are not at all bleak. The tariffs, of course, do raise the near-term risk of inflation, but there is opportunity out there. We've seen strong job numbers, recent record highs on the S&P. Investors generally positive, particularly about the big, beautiful bill. We know the Wall Street likes that. Anyone forecasting economic doom in this early Trump term has been wrong to date. What do you see happening next week when this self-imposed deadline comes down?
Well, I think that you have to understand that deadline can be moved again and again and again. We saw it with the sale of TikTok. He put a deadline on that, and he continues to punt the ball down as he tries to find a buyer. Or a United States buyer, a domestic buyer here for TikTok. He has announced that
TikTok's been extended so many times at this point. Just give it up, bro. That coverage is the reason I opened up your stream myself and saw that you were just being a journalist and explaining your point logically. Is when things are too logical for someone to respond, they lie to cause a scene about things you never did. Yeah,